Hi friends, I am Siva Verma. In this sessions, I am discussing about history of biochemistry. The beginnings of the biochemistry are not very marked because this subject is a synthetic discipline comprising biological sciences and organic chemistry in particular. इसके लिए in 1780 isolate several organic compounds such as citric acid, malic acid, glycerol and uric acid from natural sources. A few years ago, in 1773, Rowley had isolated urea from urine. Several earlier observations in photosynthesis were also made by Joseph Priestley, Jane Inge Hawes and James Senebiers during 1770 to 1782 and explain photosynthesis in details. Next point is P.S. Laplace 1749 to 1829 measured the amount of oxygen used by a man while working actively and also while resting. In his experiment, so that the combustion of carbon compounds with oxygen to form carbon dioxide, and water is the true source of animal heat, and that during physical work, oxygen consumption increased. The real push to biochemistry was given in 1828 when total synthesis of urea from lead, cyanate and ammonia was successfully achieved by Höller. In 1835, Berzelius pointed out that starch hydrolysis could be carried out effectively by a preparation from malt, now known to be enzyme diastase. Next point is in 1860, Louis Pasteur, the well-known French scientist, did a great deal of work on fermentation. The breakthrough in enzyme research and hence biochemistry was made in 1897 by Edward Buchner, when for the first time he extracted an enzyme from yeast cells in a crude form, which ferments sugar. Next point, DNA had also been discovered in 1868 by Frederick Misser. Next point is cytochromes had also been discovered in 1886 by McMahon and giving electron carriers in the biological system. Next point is biochemistry was born in 1903 when Nuremberg for the first time coined the term biochemistry. Next point is in 20th century, in 1926, the protein nature of enzymes was established and the first enzyme urease was purified and crystallized. Next point is particularly the invention of ultracentrifuge techniques by Schwarzberg 1928 to 30 opened the way for several biochemical achievements. Next point is during this time ATP had also been isolated from muscles extracts by Fiske and Subbarao in 1929. In 1940, Fritz Lipmans ultimately described the central role of ATP in energy yielding and energy requiring processes. Next point is vitamins had also been discovered by Cohen in 1935 and found riboflavin. Next point is 2 years later, 1937, Hans Krebs discovered the famous citric acid cycle. Next point is, in 1940, George Biddle had established a relationship between a gene and an enzyme, resulting a one-gene enzyme hypothesis given. Next point is, a further boost to biochemical genetics was provided. Discovery by Avery McLeod and James C. Curtis in 1944 that DNA is the genetic material proved. Next point is, coenzyme A and its importance in several biological reactions were discovered during 1947 to 48 by Lippmann and Kaplan. Next point is, Kelvin and Benson in 1948 discovered the Kelvin cycle in photosynthesis and point out that phosphoglyceric acid is the first product of the dark reaction in plants. Next point is, 2 years later, Kennedy and Leininger pointed out that the breakdown of fat and ATP generation. Next point is, the establishment of the structure of DNA in 1953 by Watson and Crick. This works for obtained Nobel Prize. And Arthur Kornberg in 1956 discovered DNA polymerase enzyme. Next point is, in 1957, Sutherland discovered cyclic AMP. CAMP is important role play in biological reactions. Next point is, in 1957, transfer RNA was isolated by Hoagland, Jelinek and Stephens. This discovery and increased interest in determining the amino acid sequences of several proteins. Next point is, Sanger's work on insulin in 1953 opened the door for sequencing longer polypeptide chain. Next point is, in 1958, Ingram analyzed hemoglobin in detail. Hemoglobin is transportations of oxygen and carbon dioxide in blood. Next point is, the amino acid sequence of ribonuclease was also determined by Hersh, Murray and Stein in 1960.